For today's topic, this is going to be very important since this pertains to the speaking skills you need to have to survive the IELTS examination. So in particular, if we're going to understand the nature of the examination as a whole, your test is divided into two categories. So we have the written component, which contains the listening, reading, and writing subtests. And we have the speaking exam, which is an interview. So your listening, reading, writing tests will be scheduled on the day you book your test. For example, there are candidates who book the October 31 test. Nakikita pa ba kayo? Pati kayo lumipat doon. Ganyan kayo ng ganyan. Kalilikot ng ulo niyo. Nasisira na ako sa inyo. Hindi ko na alam. Okay. So there are students who book the October 31 test, which means that if they book this particular date, they should expect their exams for listening, reading, and writing to happen on that specific date. Meaning, this will remain unchanged unless some unforeseen events happen. Like today, we have a scheduled exam. Unfortunately, because of the effects of the typhoon, we had to cancel it since some of the test takers will come all the way from Aurora, which some paths are unpassable until today. So for everyone's safety, since we believe that, again, your safety, your life is more important than the examination, which you can schedule anytime you want anyway. So that's it. The speaking test, on the other hand, is a separate schedule. When I say separate, it could be a separate date. Meaning, if you book your exam today on Saturday, there's a probability that your examination was actually conducted yesterday. Pwede siyang kahapon, pwedeng bukas, o pwedeng on the same day, ngayon, pero mamayang hapon ang speaking. So your speaking test is what we refer to as the isolated exam. Isolated because this exam will happen on its own without any other tests being done together with you. So if you can understand the notion, okay, I believe you. So I will be discussing everything you have to know about the speaking subtest. So for today's lesson, I will purely indicate all the details of the speaking exam, what methods you have to undergo to prepare yourselves. So naturally, the speaking test is an examination that I consider personally, again, this is my personal viewpoint, apart from everyone's discretion. In my personal point of view, the speaking test is actually the second easiest test. Reading comes next, writing is the last. Meaning writing is the most difficult test ever. So we cannot change that fact. However, it has now become easier for candidates to acquire a high score in speaking in consideration of the type of exams you will undergo. There are so many factors that play in this game of understanding the speaking concept. So for the structure, for the format, today is the discussion. You don't have to look anywhere else. Everything you need to know about how you should respond to questions, what answers do you have to come up with, and how can you effectively discuss one answer. That is exactly what I'm going to discuss today. But if you're looking for the other factors, such as content, delivery and style, charisma, posture, etc., then we have a separate lecture for that. And that is your speaking content. So I'm not implying that you can survive just with the speaking skills enhancement alone. I still recommend that you attend both. So your content speaking probably would be scheduled on the second or third week of November. But for some candidates, this was already scheduled 3 weeks ago. If you can still remember what I have discussed or what Ma'am Shannon discussed during that time. So content speaking is a separate entity. So if you talk about the difference, speaking skills enhancement contains the instruction, how to prepare a meal. For example, how to cook kare-kare. So prepare the ingredients, how long you should let the meat boil, when are you going to add the spices, exactly how to cook a dish, following directions. This is speaking skills enhancement. But content speaking ensures that the flavor, because ultimately, when it comes to eating something, right? When you eat something, what we are looking for are two things. Whether this can make me full, because basically we need food to survive. I'm hungry, I have to fill myself with food. So if you can use this food, this meal to fill you up, that's one. And whether you will enjoy the meal because of the food, okay? Because of the spices, because of the flavor you add. So that is your content speak. I still suggest that you attend it. Okay, if you have a time, if you have some time, if you don't have a time, we have a Zoom meeting for this. We have a replay lecture for this as well. So remember, we will be wrapping up everything. We will be acquiring all the skills you need in time. That's why I suggest that you have to attend classes religiously by attending live lectures Friday, Saturday, by watching replays Tuesday, Wednesday, and doing mock on Thursday. Those are the requirements. So, what are our learning objectives for this morning? Well, number one is to be able to organize speech answers in the IELTS speaking exam. Actually, there are plenty of ways how we can respond to a question. But the way how you organize them when it comes to the arrangement, the logical coherence of each of those individual discursive speeches you may have, the way how you arrange them is going to be a huge factor. So I will be explaining more about this later. Especially, this is especially true in part 2. Okay? Next is to come up with an effective answer to questions asked in the speaking test. Now, let me reiterate what I just stated a while ago. There are plenty ways how you can answer a question, but there are only a handful of methods that when you use them, this will sound much more effective for a particular situation. That is why the speaking test is a situation-based exam. You have to adapt to a situation. You have to read the room. You have to understand the context of what's surrounding your answer for you to make it as effective as you can. So if you're going to answer something, and this is the truth, but you're going to change a bit of the details surrounding this truth, making this more effective, then this is what I highly suggest at times. Because when you tell the truth, you sound more confident in delivering it. There are no blabber needed. There are no ums and ahs. There are no fillers required. But when you twist the truth up a bit, there will be some nuances in your speech. So how can you make sure that if you're going to think quickly and instead of telling the truth, you mention some flexing of it? So naturally, how can you handle the situation? Once again, the speaking test is situation. You have to understand that a particular situation that you practice might not be the effective way to address a certain situation once you are in the situation. That's why you have to put yourself, you have to subject yourself in a situation that is very close to reality. That is why we recommend the best way, none other than undergoing a one-on-one speaking coaching whenever you have the chance to do so. Now, you need to also be able to practice how to become a better speaker, So coaching is going to come into the picture. We do this every Thursday, either conducted by Ma'am Shannon or myself. So one-on-one speaking is when I or by Ma'am Shannon assume the role of the coach. So we will be asking you questions the way how examiners ask you questions. All you have to do is respond to them. Now, since you already attended the speaking skills enhancement, which is a requisite, which is a requirement prior to doing the coaching, then you now have this ability to undergo one-on-one coaching. Some people kasi, they want to maximize the time that they already have. If they only need a score of like 4.5 or 5, then I will invite them to come to coaching sessions even without full knowledge of what they're about to undergo. But I still recommend, okay? I still recommend you study first, you attend this lecture first or the content speaking lecture first prior to your one-on-one because the knowledge, the skills that you will gain from attending such lessons will be essential in doing your practice, hopefully being able to take this experience to the examination, making you a well-rounded candidate prepared for the test. So the speaking subtest overview. Once again, this is known as the isolated test. This will be scheduled separately. That is why when you book your test on your own, you will have the option to look for a date for your listening, reading, writing. And after this panel, this window on the website, you will click your preferred speaking date and time. Again, you will be the one to decide when you want to take your speaking test. Do you want it to happen the day before your reading test, listening, reading, writing? Do you want it to happen the same day? Do you want it to happen the day after? It's up to you to decide. Again, the slots for your exam is limited. Agawan yan. So meaning, if this person who scheduled his or her exam before you took the date and time you want, then of course you have to pick something else. You have to pick another date and time. Okay? So it is the shortest test among the 4 components. Therefore, it is easily achievable to do the listening, reading, writing test in the morning and then your speaking test in the afternoon. Because this will only last for about 10 to 15 minutes. This will not last for hours. This is also the shortest test in the exam. 10 to 15 minutes of interview. That is what we have to undergo. And this is important for nurses, knowing that nurses, wherever you want to go, whether you want to go to the UK, you want to go to the US, you want to go to Ireland, you need to get a 7 in the speaking subtest because this is the requirement of those countries. So, what we need to avoid is coming to the examination day unprepared. So meaning we already expect what questions will be asked given a particular task. So what you have to understand is that on certain situations, there is a required length, a required LP length that you must allow the examiner to absorb during your discussion. So you just have to start strong and finish strong for the entire examination. So how will the examiner assess your performance? So the examiner will assess your performance based on the 4 criteria. The number 1 criteria being your fluency and content. So when you say fluency, can you handle yourself or herself professionally? Can you handle yourself professionally, meaning your posture, your gesture, the way how you sit? Are you still o malikot ka sa upuan? So naturally, those will be what examiners are looking for. How do you handle yourself? The way how you get dressed. There was one time, one student wore a crop top. So we told this student, hey, you know what? Go home, change your clothes, get back here because you have to dress professionally. There are some requirements for the attire, and you will receive it via email. What you need to wear, what you have to avoid. So for footwear, it should be closed shoes. So sandals are not allowed, peep toes are not allowed. Slides, not allowed. Don't even think about it. So what about pants? You can wear whatever pants you want. For ladies, you can wear a dress. Think of attire, when it comes to attire, think of it as if you're really attending a job interview. So smart casual, semi-formal attire. So you can wear a collared shirt that will look formal. This will make you look more formal in the process. So you can wear those clothes. Just make sure to avoid wearing what are indicated in the list. Okay?
Okay, dyan, lalaki makikita din kayo. Nakikita niyo, Ereko.
Will the person be able to relate to different types of conversation, or is the person only limited to simple types of conversation? What do we mean by this? So there are certain aspects of the examination that when they get asked a question, they have to shift from one type of conversation to the next. So we have formal way of having conversations, we have friendly ways of having conversations, and we have this discursive type of conversation. So are you able to shift to those types of conversations easily? If you can, then this will be a bonus point for your fluency and content. In understanding fluency, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is that fluency is speed. People, fluency has never been, is never going to be, and is not about speed. It will never be about speed. Fluency is about control. It's how you're able to deliver your speech in a very convincing manner. So, in some cases, when candidates undergo one-on-one coaching with me, what I will always tell them is that, not always, sometimes tell them is the fact that, hey, you know what? You lack convincing powers. What do I mean by this? So if you're going to buy a very expensive product, okay, for example, I want to buy a laptop. And then I go to this store, and this laptop costs around 70,000 pesos. Now, a sales lady came to me, and then she said, hey, you know what? You need to buy this laptop because it's packed with all the specifications that is on top of the market right now. Oh, what specifications are they? Well, I don't know. I just know that they have specifications. Would I believe this person? No. We just saw each other. We just saw each other for the first time, and this person failed to convince me that this product is worth buying just because that's important. Remember, you are a stranger for the examiner. I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know who the fuck are you. Why would I trust you? How can you trust me? How can I make me trust you? I will give you. This is who I am. I am befriending you in a manner that doesn't sound condescending. This is your goal in the speaking test. You need to relate to different types of conversation. You need to shift from one type of conversation without hesitation. It has to sound as fluid as possible. We need to also avoid groping for fillers. So in some cases, people would mumble and ah between every other word. Is that a bad thing? Actually, this is a natural feature of any speech production. People, they use and ahs when they are thinking about what they want to say. But if you are going to insert and ahs before every other word, the convincing powers of your responses. It makes you sound disturbing. It makes you sound difficult to trust. So if you're going to use and ah, make sure that you are going to use them less often. What I'm trying to say is that if you are going to use and ah, I will forgive it, examiners will forgive it, We know that this is a natural feature of speech production that humans do. Fine. But if we're going to use it between every other word, it doesn't sound as convincing as it should. It will become a problem. It will yield problems, leading to low scores in fluency. When the person relates ideas together, are they coherent or are there some misunderstandings? So, you do not want to answer, you do not want to blurt out the first thing that comes to your mind. Think about what you're going to say first by using strategic analysis, which I'm going to explain later in part. Can the person relate ideas effortlessly in an organized manner? Again, I keep on saying organizing your thoughts, organizing your ideas, because there are surefire methods that when you apply to your speech, they will sound much more organized. It will make you sound as if your English speech production is natural because it looks effortless on you. That is our clear goal in mind. So next will be the grammatical range and accuracy. Question for grammar. Can you correct yourself when you slip in grammar? Guys, I've been teaching IELTS for 8 years now. And trust me, I've seen it all. Even people whose grammars worse than what I have expected to be the worst. But yet, they still got a 7 in the test. How is that possible? You see, examiners are not very particular. I'm not saying they don't care about grammar at all, but they put grammar below. They put grammar subpar with fluency and pronunciation. The more important things for them are fluency and pronunciation. For grammar, if you can imagine, in the writing subtest, our capitalization, our punctuation use, subject-verb agreement, the use of your punctuation, the use of your prepositions are graded, since whatever you write can be an evidence against you. But in speaking, examiners wouldn't care whether you put a comma or not because punctuations are not visible here. And in some cases, if we're going to pronounce the word pick and picked, the past form, if you forgot to use the past form of picked, it sounds the same. So basically, grammar's assessment of examiners are much more loose when it comes to, in comparison to writing. Because in writing, whatever you commit, even a slight mistake, they will be taking note of that as a grammatical issue. So that's a huge concern for everyone. But for speaking, I'm not saying that it's okay to commit grammar mistakes. If you can make your grammar as accurate as possible, that's great. But I don't want you guys to committing errors every now and then that makes the errors pop up. Wag lang halata. Okay? If you commit a mistake, go on with the mistake. If you have a chance to correct yourself later, do it. Just don't go correcting yourself very often because that makes the grammar issues appear more visible. And the most important thing, considering grammar in speaking, is answering incomplete sentences. Last week, we had a grammar for IELTS lecture. And one of the practices we did is to understand what type of sentences are run-on, splices, incomplete, because they use connectors at the beginning. So you need to speak incomplete sentences. The basic thing about complete sentences is that you want to make your sentences complete in speaking, you can use the question itself, formulate your own. For example, Kevin, what is your favorite food? You don't just say pizza. That's one word, very short answer. It makes the examiner think, hey, this person doesn't answer complete sentences. The fluency is lacking. There's no organization involved. And grammar, kita-kita ang mistake. Bawal ang one-word answer, one word lang ang sagot. Ito ang gagawin ko, sir. Use the sentence na nasa question to formulate your answer. Kevin, what is your favorite food? Okay, my favorite is pizza. You know, that's a complete sentence already. It's as easy as. But examiners would also understand. Now, okay, you keep on repeating the words I'm using, which means that your vocabulary is lacking. So you have to also remember vocabulary is part of your assessment. Vocabulary is the vocabulary appropriate when it comes to appropriate use of words. Okay. When it comes to the appropriate use of words, you have to avoid bad words. Number one, you have to avoid non-English terms. So avoid Spanish, avoid French, avoid Italian, avoid Greek, avoid Filipino terms. So that's why barangay and I asked the kapitan to give us some pagkain. Tagalog na nila. So you have to speak in English through. Okay? Does the person have the ability to adjust his or her vocabulary according to the person is talking to? So we have to adjust your level of formality. Although we're trying to sound friendly, because that's the goal. You have to sound friendly towards the examiner. Okay? Does the person use Philippine English? Philippine English is when you translate. What? It's when you translate words, word for word, from Filipino to English. Does the person have the tendency to translate Filipino into English? So you have to remove this tendency. You have to think in English and speak in English. You don't have to translate word for word in your mind, making the sentence structure complicated. So this leads to problem in both your fluency and pronunciation, which I have mentioned are more important than vocabulary and grammar. And naturally, I save this for last because pronunciation and delivery is the MVP of this exam. Examiner really put most of their attention in pronunciation and delivery. So one of the main reasons why Filipinos are not good English speakers. Actually, yes, let's accept the fact that Filipinos are not the best speakers in the world and even in Asia. We are behind our neighbors already. You know why? Because during our elementary days, we are taught with only syllabicating the words. A, E, I, O, U, ba, baby, bobo. So lahat ng vocalizations natin, ang titigas na biglas. Our syllables are themed with our known vowels. So that is going to be a problem. Now, the English pronunciation requires understanding the phonetic alphabet or the IPA or the International Phonetic Alphabet. So the sound that they produce is different from how we are used to producing sounds. So it will be a concern. Now, does the pronunciation of the person hinder effective communication? So how will this be a factor? Well, number one, if you're going to mispronounce words, it's okay. But if you're going to not have a voice, for example, the night before your test, you drank too much beer, you got some hangover, you sang in the karaoke, what will happen? Hirap. We have to avoid sounding breathy. Parang hinihingal habang nagsasalita. Okay, so you have to control the pace of your speech. Does the person put appropriate stress on words? So stress on words and stress on syllables are different. For example, I have this sentence, let us fight terrorism. There is no stress on any word. It sounds flat. So if the examiner asks me, hey, Kevin, do you work or do you study? I'm currently working at Dr. Paulina J. Garcia Memorial Research and Medical Center as a nurse for 5 years now in the ICU department, and I can see that my job as a nurse requires me to be English lahat yun, okay yung sentence, walang maling word, pero bakit bagsak? Because the delivery was not implied. There's no stress, there's no pause. So you have to pause. I'm currently working, pause. at Dr. Paulina J. Garcia Memorial Research and Medical Center as a nurse, the Intensive Care Unit Department for 2 years now. Even though my job as a nurse is hectic, since we're dealing with patients with life and death situations, it's still my passion seeing them recover from their illnesses. That is why I chose this profession. Diba, ang kalmado, ayos yung pacing, napopronounce yung words ng tama, walang hesitations during. Do they have a glide? What is glide? Tinuro ko kahapon. Ma'am, nasa harap? Ikaw lang ata pumasok kahapon. Ano po yung glide? Okay. Yung glide ay dulas. Yung glide ba masama? Oo. Kasi American accent ang glide. If you're going to make your speech connected, sewn together from one end to the next beginning, hindi siya magandang pakinggan. Yun yung feature ng accent nila. So hindi siya dapat laging ginagamit. Okay? Do they maintain consistent volume throughout the conversation? So of course, you have to use your conversational voice. You don't have to shout because examiners would think that you're brain damaged. Does the voice quality hinder effective communication? Do not force your voice to sound deeper. Do not force your voice to sound a pitch higher. Because when you do, it doesn't sound natural. You're adding strain to your vocal cords. And in the end, you will sound breathy. You will be breathing heavily throughout the entire conversation, making it sound unpleasant to the examiner's end. So we have to avoid. We have to make sure that you are calm, you're comfortable, you are ready, you're prepared, making sure that your voice quality would never hinder an effective communication for the entire exam. Okay? So that is how examiners will be assessing your performance. So first, let's get to know the speaking subtest overall. What do you have to understand? What is the speaking test in general? What are the important details of this exam that I have to put in mind all the time, especially during the test? So I've mentioned there are various answers which you yourself, you have to yield, you have to produce. One of the main reasons why some people consider speaking difficult because you have to be the one to generate answers in the speech. And you assess for the entire thing. So there's a tendency that you would be self-conscious in the process, right? This person in front of you is grading you. It makes you concerned. It makes you self-conscious. Makes you reflect now, oh, am I doing wrong things? Should I correct myself often? Which again, we are not very fond of because correcting yourself too often will make problems for fluency and content. So, in personal answers, your ideas will come from personal experiences and opinions about the topic being discussed. So, why do I consider speaking test to be easy? Why? Why do I consider speaking test to be easy? No? When you take your exams, you will see the examiner on the computer. So you're not facing one another. Why is speaking test easy? You have an idea? Besides that one? Wait lang, umaya ka na. Not exactly. O sige, ikaw. Sagot ka. O hindi. Ikaw sino? Sagot ka. Bakit madali para sa akin ang speaking test? Bakit madali para sa akin? Kasi hindi lang para sa akin ito. Madadalian nyo talaga pag naiintindihan nyo ano yung speaking test. Bakit siya madali? Bakit sa tingin mo I consider speaking test as easy? Paano kung hindi? Diba? Kailangan ba laging fluent? Kasi vocab, may grammar, may pronunciation. Kailangan. You have choices. A, B, C, wala akong choice. Oo. Why do I think the speaking test is for everyone? Again, why do I think it can also revive the speaking? What's her name, sir? Review. Right? So let me tell you this review. I'm the examiner in today's exam. No preparations. What score do you think you will get? You don't know what the exam is, what my questions are about. What score do you think you will get? 0 is the lowest. 0 means no appearance. 1 is the lowest you can get, meaning you will not respond to questions, you will get 1. Just your attendance can give you 1. And then 9 is the highest one. From 0 to 9. 4. Okay, it's actually a great guess. Actually, 4, it's very humble because we expect you guys to get 5. It's the lowest score without preparation. You know why? Why it's easy to get 5 or higher? Why? It's because the questions are about you. What's her name? You know your answer, right? What's her name? Di niya alam, di ba? Kasi mali. Diba? Mali ba? Favorite niya rin eh. Color. Mali. Ayun yan. Walang tama o maling sagot dito. Your answer is yellow. Your answer is blue. It's fine. Your answer is blue. Answer fully. Okay. What is your favorite color? Color that I like the most is blue. I see the color blue, I feel peaceful. That's why I also painted my room blue. That's why blue is what I consider my favorite color. Now, oh, the questions again. You already know the answer to those questions. Basic questions about yourself. Therefore, it requires personal answers. Your name, where do you live, please, what course? Then, you are senior high, junior high. What's your favorite subject? Well, because so you have to always explain. All right, always make sure to double tap. This is my answer because. Laging may dahilan. Okay? For your answer to be considered personal. Di na. Oo. Kaya kapag nagko-coaching tayo, tapos narinig nyo ako nagwa-why, why? Sahan mo na, bagsak ka. Ikaw nang bahala mag-why. You always have to answer why. Intellectual answers. So in part 1 of the speaking test, examiners will ask common ideas about yourself. Your name, your family members, your hobbies, your interests, your likes, dislikes, past, future, plans, etc. In the intellectual answer category, we will ask you a much more critical question on important issues in part 3. So, how do you think we can solve the flooding problems of your country? Again, natatanong nila yon dahil yun yung mga napapanahon na issue. They will ask you, paano nga ba? How do you think we can solve flooding problems in your country? So you have to read magazines, you have to watch videos for you to get slight idea. But again, in some occasions that you don't know the answer since the questions are way too complicated, then tell the examiner you don't have an idea. Because in the end, this is an examination that tests your ability to communicate using English. And it's not a test of your ability to know how to control the flood. Kakaintindihan? Ang exam po na ito ay hindi naglalayon na alamin kung kaya mo bang pigilan ang baha. Kung hindi, ang exam na to ay inaalam kung kaya mo bang gamitin ng English sa pakikipag-usap. At kasama na doon yung pagsabi, pasensya na, hindi ko alam sa tanong. Nakuha? Dahil hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon, alam natin lahat. Don't pilitin. Dahil baka magkamali pa pag nagmarunong tayo. Okay? So confidence is the key. When learning how to think on your feet. Ano ba yun? Pala. So confidence is the key. When learning how to think on your feet. When you're presenting information, giving an opinion or providing suggestions, make sure that you know exactly what you're talking. This is what we want the examiner to understand during our speech production. For them to know that we know, we have to show we are knowledgeable in what we are talking about. Hindi na tayo nanguhula. Okay? So guys, how do you think we can gain confidence? Any idea? Paalala ha, mga nasa Zoom, pwede rin po kayong sumagot gamit ang ating chat. So, meron tayong 5 participants pa, Christian, Jay, Jeannie, Niner, and Sarah. So, how do you think we can gain confidence or to uplift, boost our confidence? What do you think are the things that we do to improve it? How do we gain confidence from something? In speaking context, how can we get knowledge? Actually, getting knowledge is difficult in the speaking test. What we can gain is experience. So you see, someone can gain confidence through experience. This year, 2024, is my second year being a driver. So back when my wife and I was courting her, she used to be my driver. Siya nagda-drive, kami ng huli lang. Siya mag-drive kasi hindi ako marunong. When I was in high school, until I graduated college, I was in a motorcycle accident 7 times. So I told myself, baka yung pang-8 ko, ito na yung kamatayan kasi sumubok na ako sa ilalim ng truck. Di ba? Sabi ko, goodbye. Hindi na ako nagpupunta. Sabi nung wife ko, baka hindi ka pang motor. Never ka mag-motor. Kaya lisensya ko, hindi kasama yung motor. Okay? So this is my second year driving 4-wheel vehicles. So last year, nakadrive na ako ng Manila. Kasi when I was starting, yung ligo ko, binilita ko. Dahan-dahan ka. Wala, kinakita ko. Kasi nakapala, di ba? Unless garo-garo ka talaga. So, being a second-year driver compared to my uncles who were 5-10 years ng drivers, I can still compare, I'm a novice when it comes to understanding road rules, particularly in the Philippines where a lot of people are really, they don't really care about their lives, no? When it comes to driving. So naturally, this confidence in myself developed. What about other skills? Sir, anong trabaho mo? Ano mga naging trabaho mo na dati? Ang naranasan mo, ha? Engineering. Ano ba sa engineering mahirap? Okay. Tingin mo nung nagsisimula ka versus ngayon, mas confident ka na i-solve yung mga problems ngayon kasi mo experience. So back then, I asked one student what his job was. Sabi niya, sir, machine operator. I operate backhoes, dredgers. Sabi ko, okay. When you were starting, how was it? So, syempre, kinakabahan, baka ano yung matamaan ko. But right now, kaya ko nang i-maneuver ng maayos yung machine. So you see, whether it's driving, cooking, solving problems, doing your job, doing a hobby, you gain confidence by experiencing it over and over. Because the first time you come across with something, it makes you anxious. In psychology, the meaning of anxiety is fear of the unknown. You're afraid of something you don't know. Like, takot ka. This is unexplainable. Kaya nga, irrational fear ang tawag natin. It's fear of the unknown. You're fearing something that doesn't exist yet. Because you're anticipating it to be difficult. Na kinakabahan ako bukas kasi meron akong declamation. Ang dami kong kausap, ang dami kong kaharap ng mga tao. Ano ko kaya? First time mo lang ma-experience natin. Pero tingnan niyo yung ibang ginagawa nila ng sobrang dalas. Napaka-confident nila mo. So, I cannot guarantee that you can gain enough confidence with a very short amount of time. But I can assure you that if you do the necessary things, that if you take the essential steps, for example, sir, naglalaro ako ng basketball. Para sa akin, bago ako maglaro, meron mga ritual. Wala ganun ba kaya? Bago ko gawin isang bagay, meron ako ritual. Bago ako magturo, meron ako ritual. Yeah. Pag ginawa ko yun, pag sumabak na ako dito, confident na. Gawin niyo yun. Yung iba naglalagay ng piso sa sapatos, ano mawawala eh. Ano namang mamatay, gagawin mo, hindi mo gagawin. Kung makakatulong sa'yo, do it. Diba? You need to do the things that will make you more comfortable prior to the test. Take deep breaths. Hold your breath for 3 seconds. Then exhale slowly. Imagine may straw for 7 seconds. Diba? Relax. Listen. Listening is as important as speaking. If you cannot understand the question, like, sir, the examiner asked me a question and I cannot understand it. What I did is because I'm in a rush, because of my degree of nervousness, I responded without knowing na hindi pala yun yung tanong niya. Nagkakatuloy ka ng miscommunication. So the question was, Kevin, who is the member of your family that you consider closest to you? Kaya pagkakaintindi mo, who are the members of the family that you don't think are close to you? Tapos ang explanation mo, bakit hindi kayo close? Ang labo, di ba, ng tira. So if you cannot understand the question, be polite. How are you going to ask the examiner to repeat the question? By saying this. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear your question. Can you please repeat it? Thank you. So yung iba pa nagpapaulit ng tanong, ha? Linawin mo. The exam is speaking. You need to speak. I'm sorry. I wasn't able to understand everything you said. Would you mind repeating it again? Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. Di ba? Maraming paraan para paulit eh. Huwag mo sabihin yung come again. Bakit? Ano ba to? Restaurant? Come again, sir. Jollibee. Thank you for coming. Pardon. What's pardon? I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon is used in very formal context like testimonies. I don't say or I beg your pardon. Simple, can you repeat the question? Thank you. Pwede. Okay? Practice niyo yan pag may hindi ka naiintindihan na tanong. Have the question repeated, it makes you look concerned about giving an appropriate response. Therefore, courtesy matters because the examiner giving the interview to you is the one who will also give the score. Use stall tactics. Don't just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Narrow your focus. How are you going to narrow your focus? Well, you only have to talk about things included in the question. Do not go beyond it. Do not interpret the meaning why this question came into fruition in the first place or why this question existed. There's no explanation why those questions exist in the first place. You just have to use your focus. This is the question. This is what I have to answer. Respond to your scope. Okay? So ano ba yung stall tactics? Ano yung sabihin ng stall? Pero tindahan, kanong iba. Kaya may kinalaman yan. Stall means buying yourself some time. Binibigyan mo ng oras yung sarili mo. So how are you going to use stall tactics in the speaking test? Again, ang pinaka-effective na method ay repeating the examiner's questions, using it as your reference. If you want to improve your vocabulary, paraphrase the examiner's question, come up with your own words as your introductory speech before you blurt your answer. Example, Kevin, what is your favorite color? Oh, the color that I like the most is blue. So instead of repeating every word that the examiner said, I came up with blue. That is a great stall tactic for speaking. Stick to one point and one supporting piece of information. There's a high risk that you'll answer with too much or too little information when you're under pressure. If your answer is too short, examiners will give you low remark influency. When you digress naman, examiners will also give you low remarks in content. So the technique to give you focus is to stick to one point, state your answer directly, mention why, so that the succeeding detail of your answer will come later. Now, if the examiner decides to cut you off, because they often do that, no? At least you're able to answer the question directly. So even if the examiner cuts you off, you were still able to respond to the question properly by answering and giving detail. The examples and storytelling part will come later. Okay. No to very long introduction. So you see, tinanong ako, what is your favorite color? Alam ko sinabi, color. Please, crucial mo. A lot of people. Diretsuhin mo. Ang tanong, ano pa paborito mong kulay? Sagot, favorite color is blue. Kasi, nakuha. And then explain why. So task 1 is the start of your IELTS exam. Remember, first impressions lang. So dapat nakangiti ka dyan. At pag nagsasalita ka, dapat nakangiti ka din. Hirap naman. What's your name? Kevin! Dapat galit ka. Diba? So, negative points yan. What to expect? Task 1 questions will revolve around you. Therefore, task 1, we can gain a lot of leverage, okay, in this part. You can gain a lot of score since you already know the answers to the questions in part. What's your favorite subject? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Pati yung mga hindi mo gusto. Like, what is a household chore you don't like doing? What is the time of the day that you hate the most? Do you drink coffee? No, I don't like drinking coffee because it tastes bitter. It makes my heart beat faster. Therefore, I avoid it as much as I could. So instead of drinking coffee, I drink hot chocolate in the morning. Kwentuhan na lang. Alam buhay ko dito sa Niner, 8 taon na po, no? Magsasyam na taon na next year. May 3 question na laging lalabas. Tatlo yan. What is your name? Are you working or are you studying? Do you live in a house or in an apartment? Diba? Present yan talaga. Every question examiners ask, you will always appear. What is your name? So how are you going to answer this question? Ito nakangiti. Hi, my name is Kevin Mawalagan. You call me Kevin for short, because that is what my friends and family calls me. It's nice to meet you. Pastikan lang. Are you working or are you studying? I'm currently employed at 9.09 as an IELTS lecturer. So my job description is to teach aspiring candidates for this exam how to use their English for communication skills, listening, reading, writing, and speaking subjects. Now, I love my job because seeing those candidates be able to get the sports they need to fulfill their dreams of bringing their families to Canada or other English speaking countries in the world. It's just make me feel fulfilled. That's why I love this job and I've been doing this for 8 years now. Do you live in a house or an apartment? Well, recently, my wife and I moved in to our own house located in Cabanatuan City in Lorenville subdivision, Mabini home site. So the place is strategically situated in the heart of the city, making it accessible for us to reach important destinations like hotels, shopping centers, and even malls. So in comparison to my hometown, which is about 20 kilometers away in Gapan City, from our present location, I could say that the neighborhood in my current uh, location for my house is much more friendly than in my previous house. So that's what I could say. I live in this house together with my family and son, my wife and son. Oh, let's talk about their hobbies. What are your hobbies? Do you like swimming? Do you like fishing? Do you eat fish? Eh, mga tanong. Makain ka ba isda? Oo, man. Pinirito eh. Diba? Okay. Of course. I like eating fish because it tastes delicious, especially fried fish. There's this technique that my aunt used to do in frying the fish. And I'm still learning how to fry it on my own because I have my own family to feed now. But I'm getting there. So next time I go back to my hometown, I'll definitely ask my aunt how she does this. Works like magic every time she fries the fish. What fish is your favorite? Anong isda ang gusto mo? Bakit? Lungkot niya. Mga tanong, oh, dadali, di ba? Sir, do you eat fish? You don't eat fish? I eat fish. He doesn't eat fish. It's fine. There's no World War III that's going to happen. What else? Do you play video games, ma'am? Do you play video games? Di ba magkakaiba tayo ng sagot? And you have to answer what? Yes, I play video games to pass the time. I started playing video games when I was in high school. So the video games I played then were MMORPGs or the massively multiplayer online role-playing games. Now I tend to find solace in playing world building games like Minecraft, some cooking games there. See, it's very relaxing. I'm not into this very intensive play style anymore. So this competitiveness has gone in me as I grew older. That's why I play different kind of games now than I used to when I was young. No, I don't play video games because I cannot find time to do that. So I'm a very busy woman. I have to take care of my kids. So instead of playing video games, for me to pass the time, I just watch movies instead. What? Sa akin, matanda ka na ako, hindi na ako naglalaro ng mga games. Inaalagaan ko yung mga kasi sa wala na masyadong time, dati ako naalala ko maglaro. Pero ngayon, kesa maglaro ng games, na lang ako ng movie. Pampalipas. Kaya ganun lang ang tanong. Nakatakot ba yung tanong din? Yun lang po ang lalabas sa task one. No, practice tayo. Practice. Okay. Ah, what was your breakfast this morning? The breakfast I ate this morning. Sentence. Included. Who was prepared by. It was very delicious. It was my favorite bread. What's your favorite thing to eat? What helped you then? So, exercise do you do lately? Mhm. Let's go. Mhm. Because really nice. It's a household chore that you don't like doing. Well, because because sometimes they're difficult to scrub out, especially mga nanikit na. Halim mamantikang Tupperware. Tapon ko yan. Di ba? Nagmamantika yun, pinaglagyan ng aldareta. Hinalilaw na. Hindi, ang hirap matanggal. Di ba? Pero mo sabihin, ang hirap kasi tanggal. Hindi para sa'yo. So instead uh, of doing dishes, I help my wife by doing the laundry instead. What is the advice you gave to your friend recently? The advice I gave my friend recently was Next, what fruit do you like the most? Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Parehas tayo ng gustong fruit. Would you let your friend borrow your phone for a day? Even though it's your personal phone? Mhm. Would you let your friend borrow money from you? Would you let me borrow money from you? Okay, yun lang po yung tanungan sa exam. No pressure. Diba? So you just have to keep it concise and relaxed, no? As much as possible. Ayan, actually, task 1 is either of two things. Dalawa po ito. Kung ano yung mauna, whichever comes first, matatapos yung part 1, punta ka sa part. First, naka 4 minutes ka na. Cut na yun, part 2 kami. Next, kung hindi maka 4 minutes, kung maka 9 questions ka. So ito yung tanong. Ano mas gusto mo? 4 minutes o 9 questions? 4 minutes naman. Ikaw. Ikaw. Last one, 9 questions? Kanya ang 9 questions? Ang dami nun. Kasi kung 4 minutes, tapos apat sa'yo, naka 4 minutes ka na, goods ka na. Tinanong ko, what is your name? Ang haba ng paliwanag mo. Do you live or study? Do you work or do you work or study? Goods na. Sa topics ang hirap, tinanong ka gifts. What's a gift that you received recently? Do you think it is okay to give flowers as a gift? What do flowers symbolize? Diba? Kailangan mo ng pag-isipan, pakomplikado siya ng pakomplikado. Mhm. Alisin ko muna yung mic ko, ha? Wala na po bakit. So, lahat ng nangyayari kahapon, kalimutan mo na. Okay? Kalimutan mo na. Ang nangyayari kahapon, may iba lang yung mangyayari. Alright, let's begin. Now, your task 1 questions will revolve around your likes and dislikes. Number 1, what do you like? What is something you don't like? Tinatanong nila. Past experiences. Talk about your memorable childhood experience with your family. What was your favorite subject when you were still studying? If you can change one thing in your life, what would that be? Present condition. What do you feel when it rains? What activities you can do during the rain? And your future plans. Do you have a plan of traveling abroad in the future? What country do you wish to visit if you get the chance to do so? Tsaka mga hobbies. Ano mga pastime activities? Ano mga interests mo? So, doon iikot ang task mo. So, ibig sabihin, napaka-manageable pala ni task. Sobrang manageable. So, coherence, practice clear delivery. Remember, how you say something is as important as what you say. If you mumble or use ums and ahs between every second word, the confidence in what you're saying plummets. Speak in a strong voice, use pauses. Again, some people are just afraid of pausing, but again, here at 9.09er, I recommend pausing because it adds color and flavor to your speech. So, use pauses 1 to 2 seconds. Hindi po dead air, ha? Pause. Pag sabing dead air, wala na talagang masabi. Vary your tone, use eye contact, pay attention to your grammar, and use the appropriate level of formality. So know the following facts about yourself. Sino po nagtatrabaho dito? Taas naman. What's your job? Okay, ganito po. Tinanong ka. Are you working or are you studying? I'm currently working as a school principal of this blah blah school located at blah blah city. I've been doing this for 5 years now. before that, I used to be a teacher of grade 5 pupils on that same school. And that is actually my forte, teaching science, because ever since I was a kid, I'm amazed and always left in wonder of how amazing science is. So I've been teaching science for 9 years before I became a principal, which I enjoy now because you see, kids, they're just hard-headed sometimes. It's difficult to manage them, especially today's. It's just different back then than today. So, ganun, kwentuhan lang. So, may hiyang sabihin mo na teacher ka or principal kasi yung trabaho mo. No. Sir, paano po ako nag-aaral? No? Sir Gurvier. Okay, tinanong ko, are you working? Are you studying? I'm currently studying, taking the STEM strand, which stands for Science, Technology, o, tinan mo, nakalimutan mo, Engineering, Mathematics. At what school? Huh? McVian High School, located at San Jose City, Nueva Ecija, and I'm currently on my grade 10. I actually enjoy this strand because it will allow me in the future to take my dream course of becoming an engineer, which currently my favorite subject is mathematics. I'm very much attuned to this course. Shopping. Do you like shopping? Buo. Do you like shopping? What was the last item you bought in your shop? Uh-huh. SM, Mega Center, Walter Mart, of your gold. Utensils. Like knife, spoon and fork, plates. Okay. Di ba, ganun lang. Ganun lang ang taas man. Ano huling binili mo? Tanongin nila. Aha. Time spent on the internet. How many hours do you spend time like, do you have pets? Ano yung kanya? Favorite. What is your favorite book? What is your favorite color? What is your favorite time of the day? Sa mga wala pong favorite book, ha, kailangan pag-isipan nyo na natatanong po yan. Huwag pong sasabihin Bible. Like, never say Bible. Okay? Kasi oftentimes, baka matapat sa yung examiner is Muslim. Again, ala naman pong awayan ang mga Muslim. Kapatid natin yung mga Muslim. No? But we could suffer from prejudice just because of answering Bible. Kahit na Christian pa ang inyong examiner, totoo. Kasi ang dating sa kanila noon, alam mo, ang tunog mo, parang nagpapakabait ka masyado. Kaya ma'am, huwag niya sabi worship service, etc. Avoid religion, avoid politics in the speaking test. We want surface level sharing of information. Huwag tayong mag-go deep in politics and deep in religion. So, yeah. Pets. Do you have pets at home? As a matter of fact, I do. In the past, I take care of dogs. But now, I became more of a cat person. I actually have 11 cats at home, 2 of which have breeds. So I don't actually let them interact with my other local breed cats because they just fight every now and then. So it makes them suffer from injuries like scratches and bites. So my favorite cat is none other than the first cat I had. So I called this cat Tisai, which translates to white-skinned woman. That's actually a very funny story about this cat because I thought it was a girl at first, but eventually the veterinarian noticed, oh, it's not a girl, it's a boy. So the name just stuck. So even though the gender of my cat is the opposite, I still call it by its name. So, my favorite cat. Even let it sleep beside me. You know, I suffer from nasal congestion because of the cat fur. I have my fluticasone spray at the ready so that I will not sneeze too much. So, you know what my aunt actually scolded me last time. Ganun ang kalulubay, hindi siya nagtatanong ng kasunod na tanong. Kwento lang. Again, ang dami ko sinabi, pero tungkol pa rin yan sa pets. Andun pa rin ako. Hindi pa rin ako lumalayo. 4 minutes versus 9 question. Pag masaglit ka lang magsalita, tanong ng tanong yan. Yung tanong ng tanong, hanggang dulo, pahirap ng pahirap. Sir, paano po yun? Hindi po ako nagtatrabaho, hindi po ako nag-aaral. Tambay po. Tinanong, are you working, are you studying? I'm not studying. I am not working at the moment as well. Since I just resigned from my previous occupation of being a plumber. I worked as a plumber in United Arab Emirates for the past 4 years. Last year, I decided to resign and to pursue my dreams of working in Canada. That's why I'm taking this examination. Right now, I'm not working. I'm just preparing for my Canadian visa. Diba? So, ito yung mga tanong. What is your ideal job? What changes do you want to happen in your job? What is the weather like in your town? What building is considered famous in your town? Are there many huge buildings? What changes have taken place in your city in the recent years? Ano mga pagbabago daw ang napansin? Umayos ba yung kalsada? Marami ba nadagdag ng mga establishments? Time, what do you enjoy doing in your free time? How much time do you have each week? Why do you like doing these activities? How did you start doing this activity at first? And is there some other hobby or sport you would like to try instead? How has the way people spend their free time changed over the years? Holidays. What do you do when you have a holiday? What do you usually spend holiday with? Where do you like to spend your holidays and why? Can you describe a typical day in your holiday? Why are holidays and are important to you? If you could take a holiday anywhere in the world, where would you go? What do people usually do during holidays in your town? Places to go, transport, shopping. Tatanungin nila yan. How did you come here today? Diba? Ano ka nakarating dito? Anong tinakyan mo? Tinatanong nila. Did you wait long before your turn? Just have to be honest. Actually, it didn't take me much to wait because I arrived here 30 minutes before the scheduled time and I logged on to the attendance sheet. I put my stuff in the closet and then the invigilator said it's my turn after 15 minutes. So I just had 15 minutes of waiting time before the turn. Your neighborhood sports and games reading. So all these questions are typically used only to start the conversation. Remember, examiners will ask you more questions depending on your answers or even depending on the examiner. Just make sure to answer as long as you possibly can to avoid giving the examiner this drive to ask you more questions. Well, you see, we cannot help if the examiner cuts you off. Kasi nagka-cut talaga sila. Let's say nakaka-cut dalawa, tatlong sentence ka pala. Kina-cut ka nila. That's why during our coaching sessions as well, we also cut you during some time. Kina-cut ka namin, tanong na kami ng pasok. Para malaman mo rin na ganun ginagawa sa isa. Nagka-cut din sila. So, dadami ang tanong pa din. Bakit Na-hit mo na yung gusto nila. So sabi nila, satisfied na ako. Ba't ko pa papahabain? Tanongin na kita ng iba. Kaso no choice. Diba? Dadami ngayon yung tanong, mga anak ng mga anak. You just have to be prepared for more complicated questions when that happens. Actually, if my students say na, sir, alam mo, naiinis ako yung examiner, cut ng cut, magandang sign yun. Totoo yan. Yung mga student na nagsasabi, sir, yung examiner ko, ang bait. Ako, hindi magandang sign. Totoo. Ang bait-bait, sir, nung examiner ko, palagay ko, nasagot ko na. Examiner, feeling mo nahirapan ka, pinahirapan ka niya, ang hirap ng mga tanong. Isa lang ibig sabihin. Hinarapan niya yung tanong kasi alam niya, matalino ka. Alam kaya niyang sagutin. Alam niya kaya mong sagutin yun. So dahil nasagot mo, ask mo gusto. Eh kung mga tanong lang sa'yo, simpleng-simple. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Ano to, elementary. Diba? Expect ng score, tataas pa sa 5. So you have to always respond in such a manner that examiners could be convinced to give you a score of 7 or higher. But remember na, recently, yung trend natin, mas marami talaga nakaka-7 sa speaking kaysa sa reading. So, reading na ang bagong mahirap na test. Thanks. Question po sa part 1? Wala. Okay. Task 2, guys. Makinig mabuti. Si task 2 po ang pinaka-important sa kanilang lab. Internalize muna tayo. Task 2 is the most important part of your exam. Why? Because you will be doing an uninterrupted long speech here. You will not be asked by the examiner anymore. You have to be the one to execute all the questions that you saw from the previous task card that the examiner has given you a while back. So in this part of the test, sasabihin ng examiner as the script. Okay, Kevin, Okay, Kevin, you now have 1 minute to prepare for this question. I will give you a pencil and a paper to make an outline of your ideas first before you deliver your answer to me. So make a wise decision of copying the questions from the task card. If this is a computer-based exam, you will see the task card on the screen like this. There's a timer either on the upper left or upper right corner of your monitor. So make sure to write as fast as you can because 1 minute is not a long time. It's actually a very short time period. So in this case, after 1 minute of preparation, examiners will take the task card back. How will the examiner take the task card back? By making the screen blank. The screen will go blank. So you will not see the question anymore. Okay? You will no longer see the question. So what happens if you didn't copy? You may forget 1 or 2 bullet points in the process. And if you do, there will be a huge deduction off of your points. So remember, your score, if you'll do things correctly, is a 9. Okay? If you miss just 1 bullet point, for example, what is your favorite food? What is this food? How often do you eat this? Where do you buy this? Why do you like this food so much? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points. You didn't mention where you eat this food. Where do you buy this food, rather? So what happens is from 9, your score will get the maximum of 6 instead. If you miss another bullet point, you didn't mention why you like this food so much, this is another deduction, your score will now become 5. This is regardless of your part 1 and part 3 performance. What I mean here is that
Sir Irvin, our CEO and president, got consistently 9 in the speaking test every time he took the test. So let's say you are as good as Sir Irvin in part 1. You are as good as Sir Irvin in part 3. But you miss a bullet point in part 2, you will only get 6 pa din. Kahit ang ganda-ganda ng part 1, ang ganda-ganda ng part 3, you will still get 6 just because you miss a bullet point. So anong gagawin para pumasa? Para tumasa ang score? Make sure to include all the bullet points in your answer. Okay? All right. Sabi ng isang estudyante, Sir, okay lang po ba kung hindi ko pagsunod-sunodin yan? Halimbawa, what this food is. Sinabi ko, why do I like it? Then how often? Then where do I buy this? It's fine. It's fine if you will not follow the sequence of the bullet points, how they appear. But remember, they are arranged in such a fashion that if you answer them by order of appearance, this is the indicated approach for this particular question already. Ibig sabihin, yan na po yung best na pagkakasunod-sunod maging ng pagkakasunod-sunod ng sagot mo. So kung babaguhin mo pa yan, baka hindi mo masundan yung proper flow and transition. Pero kung susundin mo yan, mas maganda ang use mo ng transition, better assessment yan sa fluency and cohesion. Clear? Okay. Yes. Yes. Teka lang ha. Teka. Kukunin lang muna ako. Saan kayo 60 seconds? Ulitin natin ha. Para lang pumalinaw sa lahat. Uy, busog. Thank you, Lord. Okay, ulitin. Ganito po mismo yung mangyayari sa exam. The examiner will say, okay, Kevin, you now have 1 minute to prepare for this question. You can use your pencil and paper to outline your ideas. So, kunwari, may lapis at papel ako para makita nyo kung paano ko siya pine-prepare. Dito ako maglalapis at papel, kunwari. Yung tanong, eto sa monitor. Ang nakalagay sa question, tell the examiner about the food that you like the most. So bakit ko po pinili yung tanong na to every time na magpa-practice tayo? It's because to discourage you from answering a Filipino dish. So nung sabi ni sir, ang favorite niya adobo. Again, I have nothing against adobo. I'm more of a sinigang guy. So if you're going to ask me what my true favorite food is, I will answer sinigang. But the problem is, there's no direct translation of sinigang to English, which means you have to explain what sinigang is to the examiner. Because the examiner's nationality is not always going to be Filipino. May examiner tayong British. Anong alam nila sa sinigang? Siguro may kilala silang pinagluto na sila ng sinigang. Paano kung examiner ko Egyptian? Paano kung examiner ko from Syria? Paano examiner ko from El Salvador? Di ba? So, the examiner's nationality will vary. Therefore, you have to always assume that they don't know our culture. That's why we have to explain it to them in a manner that they can understand using the English language. So if you really wanted to answer sinigang, you can mention the main ingredient, which is either pork. Pork sinigang is my favorite. So broiled pork in tamarind soup, kung may gabi, with taro. So that's how you have to explain it. Di ba? So wag lang masyadong literal. Kasi in some occasions, sasabihin ng iba, sitting chicken eka, pinaupong manok. Di ba? Or exploding fish, pinaputok na tilapia. Hindi naman tama. So you have to understand the nature of the context of how you're going to respond to questions. Okay, particularly avoiding Filipino terms, Filipino words. You have to remember, even though you're going to answer a Latin dish or a Greek dish or a Japanese dish, you have to explain the examiner what is it in English, because not all the examiners can understand our culture. Okay? So, in this case, I will be doing my sample of answering this question. Again, examiner will give me 1 minute. This 1 minute countdown timer is in front. I am guaranteed that I can understand how long is this going to take me. So, I will use this preparatory material to begin my preparation. Simulan ko na. So, food I like. Lalagay ko dyan ice cream. Anong paligoy-ligoy ka? What? Explain. Ice cream. Dairy product. Sweet. And cold taste. How often? 2 times a week. Where do I buy? Supermarket. Ice cream. Sorry. Fast food chains. Why do I like it? I like eating sweets. This is my comfort food. Okay, time's up. Sabi ng examiner, all right, Kevin, your preparation time is over. So, ano mangyayari ngayon dyan? Sir? Mababalaan Tama? Blanco yan. Pero, anong may iwan? Yung sinulat ko. So what am I going to do with what I wrote? I will use it as my checklist. Para hindi ko ma-miss yung bullet point. Hawak ko yung papel. Papel yan Kunwari, papel yan. Uy, papel to. Papel ba to? Kunwari, papel. Dito ko lang sinulat para makita nyo. Alright? So, gagamitin ko to as my checklist. Bakit? Kasi ayaw daw natin, Ayaw nating ma-miss ang bullet point. Asan yung bullet point? What? How often? Where? Why? If I miss 1 bullet point, what's my score? 6. If I miss 2 bullet points, what's my score? 5. If I miss all 4 bullet points, what's my score? 4. That is regardless of your part 1 and 3 performances. Even though I'm as good as Sir Irvin, who consistently got a 9 every time he took his test, I'm not guaranteed to get a 9 here because according to the rule, task 2 is the deciding factor what is your overall score is going to be. And 1 bullet point miss could lead to catastrophic consequences. Okay? Di po ako galit. Nakala mo, sir, gagayat ako. Alright? Okay. So, sir, gaano po katagal magsasalita? Gaano katagal? Ano idea? Wala. What about you, sir? Katagal naman. 2? Hindi dahil gusto mo lang. Dahil 2 minutes lang po talaga ang binibigay ng examiner for you to cover everything. This is minimum. Meaning, this 2 minutes could go beyond and reach 3 minutes if the examiner lets you talk for an extended period of time. So how long? 2 to 3 minutes. Including the 1 minute preparation time, how long is task 2? 3 to 4. Tama? Kasama yung 1 minute na preparation. Okay, simulan ko na. Daing Ebas eh. Simulan mo na. Okay. Play ulit natin to. 2 times ko ipe-play yung 60 seconds. Yan ko ng mic.
For dramatic effects. Out of all the food I have tried tasting, the one that I would definitely consider my favorite is none other than a humble ice cream. You see, ice cream is very soft to taste. It has all the wonderful flavors I could think of. There are some weird flavors out there in the market as well. And it is made using a healthy ingredient, cow's milk. So it contains all the essential fats, protein, and minerals I need. So it's healthy, it's sweet, and I can taste various flavors, including strawberry, which is my favorite. I think favorite flavor being strawberry is because of rarity. I can only taste ice cream, strawberry ice cream when I go to Baguio City or if I eat some dedicated types of flavors by the brands I used to buy. I eat ice cream as much as I want when I was young, but now that I am an adult, knowing that consuming too much sweet is going to cause harm to the body, I try to minimize consuming ice cream to just a cone for 2 times a week. I buy ice cream in many grocery supermarkets located in my hometown. There are also some local shops which sell crazy flavors, like the one in Bataan, they have this taro ice cream, and I have one here in Cabanatuan, they sell mango ice cream. Those are very delicious. And I like eating ice cream just because I love sweets. Eating sweet serves as my comfort food. But unlike chocolates and soda, ice cream gives me this cool sensation, cooling me off during hot summer days, especially summer season. That's why ice cream is my favorite food of all. Now, examiners would also do something like this. No, examiners would also do something like this. You know, examiner. Ano yan? Go on. Add more. Why? Eh, tapos na ako, sir. Na-add ko na lahat ng bullet points. Hindi ko na pwedeng ulitin yung mga nasabi ko na. Why? Because if you're going to repeat what you already said, it will sound repetitive. You would appear silly. So anong idadagdag mo? If the examiner does this, maniwala ka, mabait ang examiner. Pag ginawa ng examiner to, isa lang ibig sabihin. May nakalimutan ka. One, ito yun. May nakalimutan ka, tingnan mo mabuti. Tinutulungan kita kasi naka-record tayo. Hindi ako pwede magsalita. Pag nagsalita ako, tapos ang laban. 5 ka sa task 2 dahil 2 na mismong bullet point. Kaya sige, tingnan mo pa. Maganda. Okay? 1. Pangalawa, examiner, I want to hear more. I want to hear more, simply. You were able to address the 4 bullet points, but I'm not satisfied yet. No? So anong idadagdag mo? Kung bawal kang mag-ulit. History and occasions surrounding the topic. So if my topic is eating ice cream, anong history? The first time I tried eating ice cream. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch cartoons every Saturday morning. And I always saw this Cornetto ice cream. This is a local brand of ice cream in the Philippines. And I told my mom, I want them to buy me that ice cream. So I was very persistent. They don't buy me ice cream because I always eat sweets. You know, kids, they just love to eat sweets back then. And I was surprised because when we go to the groceries, my mom said, okay, I will let you grab as many cornetto cones as you can because I know that you are the second honor of your class this year. So this will be my treat to you. And I was happy. I grabbed all the cornetto ice cream I could. If I'm not mistaken, I grabbed like more than 10 cones. So I stored it in our ref and I was glad that it happened. Sabi ng examiner, naka 30 seconds pa lang daw ako eh. Okay. Occasion. There are also many occasions surrounding ice cream eating, particularly birthday parties. Children's birthday parties would never be complete without ice cream. But here's the fun fact. Children's birthday parties have ice cream. But who are the people consuming them? The adults. So it's just funny to see that children love eating ice cream, but adults also love eating it as much as they do. That's why ice cream is a treat for all ages. Ganon ang pagsagot. Okay? Saturday examiner? Satisfied. Part 3 na tayo. Nakuha? So that's how the examination proceedings work. Punta tayo sa ibang tanong. Ayan na. Ito, hindi mo kailangan sagutan for 2 minutes. Kailangan mo lang sagutan ito sa akin ngayon. Maikli. Describe an expensive activity that you enjoy doing occasionally. Traveling. Is traveling expensive? Yes. And you do it occasionally lang? Yes. Siyempre, mahal na. So you have to explain what makes it expensive. Why is it expensive? Explain. Buying plane tickets, during your accommodation, bili ka pa ng pasalubong sa mga tao wala nang kumbag sa buhay. Hindi ng t-shirt. Wala ka naman kumbag sa buhay ko. Ma'am, ano po expensive activity ang ginagawa mo? Pero minsan lang. Traveling din. Sabihin traveling din. Bubunta lang ito. Ano? Tarasin ko dito. Ano yung bagay na ginagawa mo na mamahali? Pero bigyan naman lang. Traveling. Okay, traveling. Groceries. Picnic, eating out. Golf. Ano talaga yan? Gusto mo yung golf din. Bata ka pa. Shopping. Shopping is an expensive activity, right? Because you have to buy. Tapos naman maglilibig ka pa. Hindi, gusto ko nung yaw-yaw. Shopping. So that's it. An expensive activity I enjoy doing occasionally, mountain climbing. Iba, scuba diving. So, golfing sa sir. Iba, hot air balloon. Kaya, shooting some firing range. Mahal din yan. Isip kayo, ano to, papaliwanag mo kung bakit. Pwede rin eating at an expensive restaurant. Ha? Mga steakhouse. Mahal na bill to. Ha? Going to a hotel, mahal yun. Tama ba? Describe a daily routine that you enjoy. Part of your day that you enjoy. What's a daily routine that you enjoy? Watching TV series? Watching movies? Sports? Doing sports? Ano sa? Magluto. Magluto tayo sa pagpumunta siya. Exercise. Farming. Volleyball. Cooking. Part of your routine that you enjoy. What is it? To explain. Where and when you do it. Saan? Kailan? Tuwing anong oras? Dapat specific. Who you do it with. May kasama ka ba? Kung wala, by myself. And why you enjoy it. So dun dapat, yung chunk nung length niya, yung duration, most of the duration should come from the explain why you enjoy it. Describe a time when you had to regret for being polite. If I'm not mistaken, this is the question voted by my students in 2023 to be the most difficult question. And I gave them an example how to answer this type of question. Describe a time when you had to regret for being polite. Isa daw pangyayari sa buhay mo na pinagsisisihan mo na naging mo ba? A time when you had to regret for being polite. Want me to do it? Okay. Back in 2022, I worked part-time as a medical sales representative. And during that time, I joined a public bidding in a hospital located in my province. So for the winning bid to be considered, there will be long deliberation process of inspecting the essential documents during the bid opening day. After the bid opening day, I was scanning through the bulletin board and another fellow medical representative approached me. She told me and asked me about the project that I'm planning to join for tomorrow's bidding ceremony, which I gladly mentioned. So I talked to this person, and she also shared what type of item, what type of product she is planning to include in her bidding process. And I gave her some tips. Problem was, this fellow sales representative was my competitor. So during the bidding opening process, she mentioned that one of my products was flawed due to it not being inclined with the specifications, which makes her product better suited to be the winner. Now, afterwards, 7 days, I received a notice of post disqualification, and I learned that this representative got the qualification needed instead. So I became the loser of our battle. Therefore, I learned not to trust strangers, especially in the midst of unfamiliar people, because they could use it against you. So I became much more vigilant who to trust after this incident. That is the time when I had to regret for being polite. Is that? Ganun ang mga sagutan. So may tanong ko, task 2. Na naman? So again, ang task 2 ba ay madali? Madali kung masasagot mo lang. Maganda is problem. Ang task 2 question kasi ay tungkol pa din sa'yo. Questions will be about your preferences. Talk about a gift that you received which you like the most. Talk about a product that you think is not worth buying. Talk about a hotel you've been to recently. Talk about a movie that you would like to share with your friends. So those are the several concepts which task 2 would revolve into. Clear? Questions? Guys, ang buhay po ng speaking ay nasa past 2. As I've mentioned at the beginning of my discussion in part 2, nothing comes close in part 2 when it comes to assessment problems. Even if you are as good as Sir Irvin, our CEO, who constantly got himself 9 every year in speaking for part 1 and part 3 alone. Yet your part 2 would miss a bullet point. You will not see even the shadow of 7. You will not even come close to 6.5. The score you will get is a flat 6 just because of a missed bullet point. So what you want to do here is to make sure that you answer. Okay. So, avoid generic introduction to part 2. What do we mean by generic introduction? Of course, you have to begin somewhere. And when people begin their speech, they go, today I'm going to talk to you about the ice cream, which is very generic. So I want you to avoid that. Sir, how are we going to introduce our answers now? If we're not allowed to say, today I'm going to talk to you about, ano na kung gagawin natin? Mention about the vastness. Mention about the options you have. And then highlight the one that you chose. Kung di nyo naiintindihan, tatagalogin ko. Ang tanong halimbawa, what is the restaurant that you like the most? Kung bawal ang today I'm going to talk about, paano ko siya sasagutin? Paano ko uumpisahan ang speech ko? Out of all the restaurants I've tried eating at, both here in the Philippines and abroad, the one that I like in particular is none other than Yellow. Yeah. Sa dinami-dami, merong nag-iisa at ito yun. Yun po ang introduction sa part. Bawa, talk about a gift that you received which you like the most. One of my most memorable birthday celebration was last year. And of course, people gave me a lot of gifts. But the one gift I liked the most during that occasion was insert. Nakuha? Nakita niyo yung introduction ko sa ice cream? Dinami-dami ng pagkain na pwede kong piliin. Ang pinipili ko, ice cream. Dahil paborito ko yun. Yun siya. Question task 2. Talk about a place you've been to, but you want to return to when you're given a chance. I've been to Palawan twice already. But if I'm given a chance, I would like to return to that place once again. You see, Palawan is so beautiful. And bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. That's how you do introduction. Okay? Clear? Questions? Darating na po tayo sa dulo ng ating aralin. So task 3 or the two-way discussion. Before we continue, we will be taking a 10-minute break. Time on my watch is 11:13. We shall resume at 11:22. So pause muna natin recording. So this is the part where you can leave a lasting impression to the examiner, as this is the ending phase of your exam. So remember, you will be asked questions here which are related to the topic on the previous task. Some people would be confused when they experience the exam, claiming na, sir, you mentioned that the topic will be related to the topic in task 2, but my question in part 3 was nowhere near close to the question because in part 3, examiners are allowed to ask you questions from different areas of your personal aspect. Even so, they could even ask you abstract questions, particularly hot issues, hot topics, which are of general public interest, like the weather, um, education, technology, etc. So if your topic is about shopping, your first few questions could be about shopping, but your succeeding questions could split into many other types of questions. So just have to be sure to come prepared. When it comes to mentioning this preparedness, you have to expect the worst. In some occasions, may na-encounter na kami. Question sa part 2 is about the time when you didn't tell the truth to your friend. And then the beginning question of part 3, what is the difference between the lies told by adults compared to the lies told by children? Like those kind of shit. Right? So, fuck that shit. So, be prepared for those types of questions. Now, listen to the questions carefully. Sometimes you can ask the examiner to repeat the question again by saying, can you please repeat the question? I've mentioned some other ways how you can ask the examiner to repeat the question, like, excuse me, I wasn't able to hear your question correctly. Could you please repeat that again? Thank you. I'm sorry. Would you mind repeating the question again since I wasn't able to hear everything you said? Thank you. I'm sorry. I was not able to hear your question. Could you please repeat it? Thank you. Be polite. Why? Because the one who will give you a score is none other than the one doing the interview. Kaya kung hindi ka mabait sa kanya, hindi rin mabait bibigyan sa personalan ito. Okay. Cinco ka. May personal siya. Sabi. Yan na may personal siya. May estudyante kami, naka 5.5 lang siya sa speaking. After recheck, naka 7 siya sa speaking. Bakit yung recheck? May idea ba kayo sa recheck? Sino po walang idea sa recheck? Taas naman. So lahat kayo may idea. O, ganito po yung recheck. Exam ako! Took my exam. Listening 7, reading 7, writing 6.5, speaking 6.5. Sabi ko, I think I did my best. How come I was only able to get 6.5? My plan is to go to the UK to work as a nurse. The minimum requirement is listening 7, reading 7, writing 6.5, speaking 7. So meaning, my speaking score didn't make the cut. So what am I going to do? You can either recheck or retake. Pag retake, there one skill retake at the price, or retake the whole exam, which is going to be tedious. Trabaho yan. Exam ka na naman, prepare ka na naman, panibagong paghahanda na naman, tama? Okay? So if we're going to do recheck, here's what's going to happen. You will be following a series of steps that the email of British Council will send you once you agree to their EOR, or what we refer to as inquiry on results. So once everything is successful, magbabayad ka po ng halagang 6,700. So yung 6,700 pesos, pag ang score mo ay tumaas, from 6.5 naging 7, kahit slight lang na pagtaas, babalik nila ang pera. Bilang, sorry, nagkamali kami, nababa binigay namin, dapat 7 ka. Ito ang pera mo, pang shopping mo, pang samgyup mo. Kaya yung mga tropa mo mag-inom. Yun po. Sir, marami bang tumataas sa recheck? So, eto puro speaking ko. Si Esther, student ko po noong 2018 pa doon. Hi, sir. got my IELTS result today. Unfortunately, I need 7 in speaking for visa screen. Should I go for retake or recheck? Here's my score. Overall 6.5, listening 7, reading 7, writing 6, speaking 6.5. Should I recheck? Sir, madami na ba tumaas score nung nagpa-recheck? Sabi ko, yes. Tapos sabi niya, hi sir, got my desired speaking score after the check. Thank you. So from 6.5, 2018 pa to. So ito yung mga bago. Ismo ko. Ba't ko alam mo? Okay. Airbus. Ito 1.8. Yan o, tingnan nyo guys. So, 5.5 lang pala. Reading 5.5, writing 6.0, speaking. Tingnan nyo. Nakalagay doon, 0.50 increase. 6.5 yung original, naging 7. Meron pa isang nag-check. Yung dami na kasi nag-check. Dito po tayo nagtatagal, no? Sa mga paghahanap niya. Check din. Writing naman siya. From 6, naging 7 yung writing. Pinakamataas ko na sa recheck, 1.5. Ang score niya, 6 sa speaking, naging 7.5 after recheck. Ano ba no? So, bakit? Bakit kaya? Ganito yan. Examiner ka. Examiner ka. Ako yung candidate. Binigyan mo ako ng 6. Bakit? Di mo trip yung trip ko. Pa-recheck ako. Ang trabaho ng examiner, B, which is magpapakinggan niya yung conversation natin, hindi mo niya i-interviewin. Bakit yun? Kasi naka-record niya eh. Okay na. 7.5. So sa kanya, pasok yung score ko. Sa'yo hindi. Yun lang ibig sabihin. Kasi nga, kanya-kanya to eh. Ang mga examiner, tao po sila. Ikaw, gusto mo adobo ako, yun. Ganun lang siya kasi hindi. So content is going to play a factor. That is why recheck success stories. Okay. Nagpa-recheck tapos hindi alam ang pagbaba. Wala pong bababa pa. Diba nagpa-recheck ka from 6 naging 5.5, walang gano'n. Retain the score. Hindi po nila yung it's either retain or increase. If it's going to increase, balik pa. Sarap, diba? Pariban nyo na yun, girls. Kayo naman boys, pang anak nyo na yun. Nakulaki nyo na. Actually, ang recheck lagi po siyang dalawa. Hindi ko sinasuggest ang listening reading. Kailan ito si Janus ha, makulit po. Pinarecheck yung reading. Ano mangyayari dyan? Ang change. Wala pong mangyayari sa pare-check ng listening reading. Bakit? Kasi 3 proseso pagdadaanan yan. Tadaan sa makina, check ng tao, check ng tao. So, napakababa ng margin of error. Ibig sabihin, ang tanga na lang ng makina at ng 2 tao na nag-aral ng kolehiyo ng ilang pung taon para ma-miss yung isang puntos mo. So, hindi po magkakaroon ng pagbabago sa listening and reading score. Maniwala kayo sa speaking and writing lang po. Dahil speaking and writing, this is against personal discretion. Trip mo yung trip ko, kasaka sa akin. Hindi niya trip, kaya ka bumagsak mo. So, yun po ang dahilan kung bakit ang IELTS, comparison natin sa MET, Michigan English Test, na tinake na namin, at PTE, Pearson's Test in English, bias yun. Kasi nga, tao ang nag-check. Whereas kay MET at kay PTE, machine ang nag-check. Software. Na pwede natin exploit yung system. May mga techniques para i-undermine yung mga exploitations. Tanong? Lahat? Tanong? Ay, tanong. Pag-check ka, pare-check mo ulit yun. Yun na yun. Permanent yun. 6-7. Actually, sa akin ni Janus, 5,490. Binayad. Sa akin naman, hingi kayo ng 10,000 sa nanay niya. Nay, mas okay. As soon as you get the result, mas fresh yun, mas okay. Mas bago, mas okay. Muna tayong magulok pa yun. Kasi meron din siyang maturation process. Pag nag-lapse, hindi ka pwede mag-lapse. Hanggat maaga pa, kilos. Yun nga lang, gastos na naman. So ayaw na natin pagdaanan yung mga proseso na yun. Kaya umpisa pa lang, do the right things. Answer every question as much as you can, as many details as you possibly can. That's going to give you an edge in getting a 7 initially. Kasi regardless of who the examiner is going to be, whether it's recheck or the initial score, they all want one thing. They want detail in your answer. So if you deliver as many details as you can, it gives you a better edge. Clear? So always aim to expound. Expound is a combination of explanation with expansion. So you explain it with down to the smallest detail as you possibly can. So one of the most challenging aspect of part 3 is in generating and organizing thoughts. Sometimes when asked a question, your mind may get flooded with countless possible answers. Other times, you may draw a complete blank. The challenge will be greater if your topic is the subject you know nothing about. Naturally, it will be difficult for anyone, even myself, to respond to a question that I'm not familiar with. Therefore, review past examination questions. Where can you review the past examination question? Actually, I will give you 2 PDF files. Mamaya i-post ko siya. Tingnan nyo, speaking skills and answers. Speaking questions. Ito po yung lahat ng natanong na noon na maaari nyo pang matanong sa inyo. Bigyan natin ito ng sample. No? Yan. What is the most common job for men in your country? The most common job for men job like Do you believe communication at present is easier because of technology? The role of teachers in imposing discipline to your children. Next, what are the important subjects in schools that are needed in the future? Advantages and disadvantages of visiting other countries. Children do exercise. the importance of computers in children? Next, how will you encourage children to save?
How? How? Okay. So guys, have expound. Always aim to expound in part three. The longer you can talk, the better. So I'm very glad that upon hearing your answers, you mentioned detail. But I want you to explain it in more. Can you give examples? You can give situations. Like when you're talking about saving money, that was what you learned when you were young. That's what you would like to also teach your children. Or when you were young, you did exercise, that's why you were helped you stay fit longer. Bibigyan ng example. Nagets yun? So ang gagawin niyo po, ano, pag nasa bahay na, laking ginagawa, bago mag-coaching the following week, binabasa niyo lang sila lahat, tatanungin mo yung sarili, nakaharap ka sa salamin. Tapos tatanungin mo yung sarili mo. Do you think governments are doing enough to encourage people to use public transportation? Pag sumagot yung salamin, tumakbo ka na. Sagot, practicein mo, gamit yung phone, i-record mo yung sarili mo. Para makita mo mismo, marinig mo mismo sa sarili mo, what are your flaws? What are the flaws in your speech? So if I'm going to answer this, I do not believe that today, the government, particularly the ones in Southeast Asia, are doing enough to encourage the users to use public transport. Partly because what they consistently build are highways and bridges, which are mostly highlighting the importance of car ownership. So in our culture, we always perceive that owning a car is going to give you a status symbol in the society. So therefore, if you own a car, you can go wherever you want. But the problem is many people now can afford it through loans. And since there are so many cars, especially in Metro Manila, in EDSA alone, one of the busiest roads in the Philippines, it can only accommodate 200,000 vehicles in a day. And how many vehicles pass by EDSA every day? More than 1 million, 5 times its capacity. So we could definitely expect reduction. So what I suggest is that the government should make more railway transits like MRT and LRT, or the rail transits scattered in Metro Manila. We should build an underground rail transit to compensate for the masses using this rail transit, because it's the fastest way to go to the city. So I've tried riding MRTs before, and it is definitely the fastest. It took me just 4 minutes to reach my destination. So if it will cater more passengers, people will be discouraged to use their cars because they will think, hey, I have to think of parking spot. I have to think of many other things, like whether my car will be placed not in a covered area, or some people will be stealing my belongings inside a car. There's so many things, but if I just commute comfortably, I will not be using my car. This will decongest our highways, making traveling much more convenient, both for commuters and private vehicle owners. Okay? That's the way of answering that I encourage you guys to have. So, what's the best way to answer
past three question. We call this the prep method. Can you repeat it? Prep method. Now, dito mo, prep method. Prep method. Prep method actually stands for point, reason, example, point. Point is the answer that you will give directly for the question. What is a toy that you enjoyed playing with when you were still a child? The toy, I remember I played the mouse when I was a child, is my toy car that I gave the name to, and I called it Buggy because it's a 4x4 remote control car. I consider this my favorite because, for example, I remember I keep it even when I'm still sleeping, and up until this very day, I keep this car on display in my room. I love this car so much. Simple lang, huh? What is a fruit that you like eating the most? Tinan niyo yung answer ni Sir kanina, ha? I like eating banana because it's healthy and tasty. Example, when I go to the gym, I always bring a banana in my gym bag because it replenishes my potassium content after a very strenuous workout. That is why I love this fruit so much. Sa lahat ng pagkakataon, basta ang tanong mo, what, why, how, at saka discuss, pasok ang point, reason, example method. What is the dish that you know how to cook? The dish that I know how to cook is boom. The reason is because boom. For example, during occasions and blah, 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 I cook this food. And that is the dish I like cooking for everyone. So, laging gamit yung prep. So, kung ang examiner, naka-start ka na ng P, nag-reason ka na, mag-i-example ka, pero kinat ka na niya, ang tanong, masagot mo ba yung main question? Yes. So, even though the examiner cuts you off during your speech, you're still able to address the question specifically. Mataas pa rin ang score. Example, tinanong ako ng examiner, Kevin, tell me about a place where you want to spend your holiday vacation. Malta is a wonderful holiday destination. It is a country drenched in history and offers an abundance of activities for travelers. This country has old churches, catacombs, and air raid shelters that I could visit. I would also like to take a dive or take a dip in one of the many beautiful inlets and bays that this country has. Of course, these are just some of the things Malta has to offer. It really is a wonderful holiday. My impromptu. Tell me about a place where you want to spend your holiday vacation. Out of all the country that I wish to visit soon, probably Japan is on the top of the list. Probably because of the technology and culture that coexist in that country. Some people also claim that they should put Japan last because their expectations to other countries when they visit becomes high because the standard in Japan is just so majestic. So their culture and traditions still exist today. They have very great monuments and they pay respect to their culture since their castles are still intact. Even today, they maintain it. But Japan is also known to be as one of the highly technologically advanced countries. So being able to experience the best of both worlds, technology and culture is something that I would definitely look forward to when I visit Japan in the future. No? So, syempre, kaya teacher niyo kayo, pag kumuha na kami kung sino-sino dyan, and then, lalo nagtiwala sa amin. Okay. Prep. Diba? Anong prutas ang gusto mong kainin? For example, ako, tangerine. Kayo. Anong prutas ang gusto nyo kinakain palagi? Oh, again ha? What? Tagalog? Atis! Lanzones! Rambutan! May English yan. May mga English po yan. No? Kung di makapag-isip kayo, simplihan nyo lang, Apple na lang. O, di ba? Di ba? Pahirapan pa yung sarili mo. Nagets niyo yung point? It is not about what your answer is. If your answer is durian and you are not able to execute it properly, but my answer is just a simple banana with great execution and delivery, banana is still going to win this battle. Okay? Simple, pero kaya mong panindigan. Tama. Who do you think are more fashion conscious? Men or women? Sagutin ko yan. Although in today's world, men has indeed improved when it comes to the type of clothes they prefer to wear, I would still consider women to be much more fashion conscious than men because of how creative they are with the way how they handle themselves in the fashion industry. So a testament of this would be blah, 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 boom, boom, boom. That's why I think women are more fashion conscious up until this very day. Ano daw ang pinagkaiba sa mga kasinungalingang sinasabi ng mga matatanda? Kumpara sa mga kasinungalingang sinasabi ng mga bata? Oh, ganda na eh. No. There you What is the difference between the lies told by adults as compared to the lies told by children? Kanina, no? May mga sumagot ng for me, no? Sa umpisa. Gumamit kayo ng for me, personally, in my opinion, I think, gamit kayo ng mga introductory phrases na ganun. Gandang introduction. I think the difference, I believe the difference, in my opinion, the main difference is, so may mga ganun kayong paumpisa. Sorry ikaw. Sir Victor, what is the difference between the lies told by adults as compared to the lies told by children? For me, yo. Mm-hmm. 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 Got up. Okay. Go, ma'am. Naka-black na blazer. What's the difference between the lies told by adults compared to the lies told by children? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the difference is in the gravity. For example, they both lie. For example, a child lied because this young person broke the vase. It's white. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 So it's the effect of the lies, the consequence of the lie. It's actually partly true because the answer here is that adults lie because they are saving the truth for later. Sometimes they just don't want to make the situations much worse. For example, they caught someone cheating. They don't want to blurt it out to their friend because their friends would get hurt. So instead of dipping your toes in that situation, they would just let the situation unravel by itself. First, lie because they want to avoid consequences. Because they know that if adults, their parents, ever found out that they are the ones who burned the rag or they were the ones who broke the vase, they would definitely get punished for it. Whereas adults, isipan na. How does globalization affect fashion? In today's world, globalization has made countries communicate easier more than ever before. And because of that, the fashion industry has been blooming. And as a result, there are two advantages. One is that we become much more globalized. And two, it's much easier for us to acquire fashion statements on social media, which also brought better economy since it requires transportation, designing, and curating the fashion statements. However, it also brought different negative impacts, particularly in the environment. Because of so many wrappers that we have to cut through before we open the package from an online store, we just throw them around and those trash pile up. Not to mention the cost of the shirt now is cheaper, but in reality, the water used for those cotton is 6 times more people use for cooking. So by the time that we know it, we will no longer have potable drinking water, particularly for countries in South Africa. So I think that globalization indeed affected fashion both positively and negatively. Ito, tanong tayo isa-isa. Which do you prefer? Working in big or small groups? Sorry. Big or small? Simple lang tayo. Walang kailangan paliwanag ng Why? Easier to manage. That's correct. How do you spend your night? Sleeping? It's boring. You need to make sure that conversations will spark interest. So when you say sleeping, what are we going to talk about more? No. Tatapag-usapan. No? Tell me about various forms of relaxation. Going to a spa, having a massage. Differentiate change and progress. Sabi nung politiko, ako na ang pagbabago. Change, pagbabago. Ang progress, pag-unlad. Diba? Kasi may pagbabago na pangit, tama ba? Ikaw ang pagbabago, nung nagbago, pumangit. Diba? Sabi mo nga sa asawa mo nagbago ka na! Dati sinusundo mo pa ako, hatid sundo ngayon, ingat na lang. Diba? Oh, so pag sinabing change, it's not always for the better, but progress always aims to innovate. Sure. Next. Say something about the sports facilities in your hometown. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Waited. Mm-hmm. Hintay mo order ko. Part 3, yan lang iikot yung mga tanong. Some people have the cunning ability to talk, but not the ability to communicate. Our goal here is to communicate, not just talk. So pray. Sana po mabait ang examiner. Okay? Ang gusto nating examiner si Cindy La Rosa. Pakabait niya. Oo. British woman yan. La Rosa. Nakapangasawa po ng Pilipinas. Alam niyo mga Pilipino pag nakita ng foreigner. So, ano pong itsura ni Cindy? May klipong buhok. Mga nasa 50s na siya. Tapos, mahirap siya magtanong. Ito. Sabi, sir, sabi mo, bait ni Cindy. Bakit Ang dami ng tanong, ang hirap. Kung magaling exam ko, umabot kami ng siguro 17 minutes. Sabi mo, 15 minutes ang exam. So, interesado siya sa'yo. Si examiner, ang bait-bait. Oh, wow, is that so? Wow, that's good. 5.5 lang ibibigay sa'yo. Parang alam mo, bait-bait niya. Pwede ko na siyang kuning kumare sa susunod kong anak. Ano? Kaso, hindi pala. Pakitang tao lang pala yung bait niya. Kung sino pa yung mga ganun, mga Pinoy. Bait-bait nila sa exam. So, mga kapwa Pilipino, humihila sa atin. Ano ba? Yun. Anong gusto natin? Foreigner na matanda. Anong gusto mo, sir? Foreigner na matanda. Yeah. A foreigner. Arabs are actually in between. They are what we consider the balance. They're not lenient, but they're not very critical when it comes to scoring process. Particularly for grammar and vocab, because they know that we know that when it comes to vocab and grammar, we're superior in all aspects. Oh, makikita niyo. Yes. Tsaka magpapakilala sila. Oh, wala. Surprise yun. Kaya nga, pray o sir, nakalagay o pray. Pag nag-pray po kayo, Lord, ako po ulit ito, hindi pong anak, alam mo po, hindi po ako ang paborito niyo, pero ngayon lang po, inihiling ko lang po sana si Cindy po ang aking maging examiner. Mga girls, lalaking examiner, mga boys, babaeng examiner. Opposite sex, iba kasi ang communication process nila. So, sila Ian Wall. May Pinoy. Out of the 33 active British Council examiners, meron kaming 3 nakaban. Bakit? Mababa magbigay. Binaban talaga namin. Hindi kayo pwede mag-grade sa, pwede ka mag-ban. May abang kami. Diba? We hold 20% of the revenue of test takers. Pwede namin silang ilipat sa IDP pag hindi sila nakinig-examine. So, hindi na po natin makikita ni anino ng mga yon pag sa amin kayo nagpabook. Or pag gumamit kayo ng code na 9.09er sa referring agency niyo, hindi nila kayo bibigyan ng examiner. Naka-blacklist sa amin yun. Kasi, yung performance mo pang 7 na pero 4.5 binibigyan nyo. Hindi natin alam mga basher lang ba sila o mga haters anong gagaling yung pabwisita nila na yun. Ayaw lang talaga. So, blacklist sa amin yun. So, 30 na examiner, most of them are young ones. Ang bata na examiner, nasa 30 pataas. 32, 33, 34, 35 bata yun. Ang ayaw natin sa bata kasi, unang trabaho yan, masipag. Alala mo unang trabaho? Ano unang trabaho? Anong unang, yung unang-una? Unang-unang trabaho. Kung bata ka pa, nagsimula ka magtrabaho. Construction, masipag ka pa, pala ka ng pala, buhat ka ng buhat, di ba? Hindi ka pa madugas eh. Eh pag tumatanda na, medyo magulang na, alam na yung mga kung saan magtatago sa CCTV, alam na paano pikiin yung mga DTR, no? Nagiging magulang na. So, pag bata, masigasig yan, very enthusiastic, hanapin mo mali. Kada mali, lista. Pero pag matanda, mapagbigay na eh. Sabi nila, imamali ko ba ito? Mamatay na rin naman ako. Eh, ipas ako. Baka kadagdagan pa to sa langit points ko. Ganun po yung isip nila. Ba't ko pa papahihirapan tong tao na to? Ang gusto lang naman ito makapagtrabaho, makatulong sa pamamahay. Dapat ang mindset eh. Eh hindi ganun, kadalasan. Kasi nga mga Pinoy, crab mentality. So relax. It is often normal to feel mild anxiety or nervousness. Be confident by smiling. Listen, questions are sometimes being asked instantaneously. So they will just ask you questions out of nowhere. So you just have to be receptive. You just have to expect that questions are sometimes going to be difficult. So if, sir, paano po kung may ganun tanong? Like, Kevin, why is the whole of a manhole round? Totoo, natatanong yan. Natanong ko yan. Totoo. Kevin, why is the whole of a manhole round? Ano yung manhole? Sino pa hindi nakita ng manhole? Have you seen a manhole? Have you seen a manhole? Bakit? Nakita manhole? Ikaw lang. Okay. Kasi kung hindi pa kayo nakita ng manual, pupunta tayo dun sa ano eh. Sa tapat ng, meron dito. Sa, hindi, Pakaruman. Diba? Sa may PLDT, pakita ng PLDT, tsaka ng Land Bank. May malaking manhole doon. Kung saan lumalabas ang mga Ninja Turtles. At nagtatago sila Batman, yun po ang manhole. Ngayon, ang tanong sa bakit bilog daw yun? Hindi pa kailan ko. Diba, ang pakailan ko dyan. Sabi ko kinang yan. Eh, bilog yan, bahala sila. So, yun ang tanong, bakit daw bilog yun? Hindi. Mali-mali yung sagot ko. Construction ka pa din. Construction ka pa man din, hindi mo alam. Pero okay lang bang hindi mo alam? Dahil ang exam, hindi naman to test para maging undersecretary ka ng DPWH. Ang exam is kung paano mo gagamitin yung English sa pakikipag-community. So kung ang sagot mo, sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. But when I get home today, I'll do my research about it. Hanggang 2 beses mo pwedeng gamitin yung sa exam. Makaka-7 ka pa. Lalo sa part 3, magtatanong talaga sila ng mga kakaibang tanong. Hindi mo talaga alam yung sagot. Sabihin mo lang, be polite, be honest. Oh, I'm sorry, but I lack knowledge about that topic yet. So, don't worry. When I get home today, I will immediately do my research about it. Interesting. Sabi mo lang, sorry, hindi ko alam eh. Pero huwag ka mag-alala, pag uwi ko, alamin ko yan. Eh, alam pa ba niya yun? Magkikita ba? Hindi na. Yes. Kasi part yun eh. Sa totoong buhay natin, meron tayong mga tanong na hindi natin kaya sagutin. Tama? So, ang test nila kasi is communication. How will you respond to a situation when you don't know the answer? Gagamit ka pa din ng English. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer, but when I get home, I'll do my research about it. Thank you. Move on na siya sa ibang tanong.
Sa part 3.
Part 3 yun. Kasi sa part 3, abstract ang mga tanong. For example, how do you think we can solve the flood problems of your country? Sabi mo, putya, mahihirapan ako mag-isip dito eh. Kaya mag-isip ako ng mahaba, okay, I'm sorry. But I don't know the answer to that question. Don't worry. When I get home, I'll do my research about how to solve the flood problems of the Philippines. Pag maraming ulan. Hindi ko alam yung mga construction engineering complicatedness na. Nakuha? Gets? So, pwede po bang gamitin yun? Oo, hanggang 2 beses. Huwag lang po palagi, ha? What is your name? I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to your question. Where do you live? I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to your question. What is your favorite pastime activity? I'm sorry, I don't. Huwag lang po ganun. No, as much as possible, always try to squeeze out your brain juice so that you can deliver answers in as much detail as you can. But in some occasions where you simply cannot answer easily, and you think you're just going to make the situation much more complicated, give up and be honest. Tell the examiner, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to the question, but when I get home today, I'll do my research about it. Thank you. Okay? Come prepared, practice speaking, try to familiarize yourself with topics. Paano? Basahin yung mga task card na i-upload ko mamaya. 2 PDF file yon. Tapos pagpunta mo sa Facebook group natin, na pala. Punta mo sa Facebook group, punta ka lang sa Facebook group. Nasa group ka, type mo #speaking, huwag kakalimutan, #speaking. Ito po yung lahat ng mga tanong na natanong sa mga estudyante natin dati. Ito from part 1. Sir, questions ko, mainit-init pa. Sabi, name, hometown, what is your town known for? Do you know the history of your town? Do you prefer a car when you travel? Do you prefer being driver or passenger? Does the color of the car matter? How often do you dream? Is it okay to share your dreams to others? Would you like to know more about your dreams? So sir, ang dami niyang tanong, no? Oo, alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi may siyang sumagot. Kaya 9 questions ang kanyang task. Ayaw nating mangyari yun. So dapat, mas madetalye, mas okay. Nakuha po? Ang dami yun, daming tanong. Oh, lahat yan, puro tanong. Oh. Galing, no? Tapos meron pa dyan, eto, thread. Yung Pampanga thread ng August 12, 2021, yung comments ang i-check nyo, nandun lahat ng tanong. 3 years ago na yan. Pero yan pa yung mga nagiging tanong ngayon. Niwala kayo. October 2022, August 2021, same questions pa rin. During the test, be willing to talk. The examiner is expecting to talk to a positive, intelligent, and courteous candidate. If the examiner offers to shake your hand, return his or her handshake firmly. Show that you are in control by talking freely. Simple answers do not mean one-word answers. Complicated answers not necessarily better than simple ones. Answer questions clearly and concisely. Do not be shy. Yun lang. So, tanong. May tanong pa po sila? Lara? Sure. That settles our speaking skills announcement. Some final remarks. You have to make sure that you remain enthusiastic until the end of your test, which means that you are required to answer your questions in as much detail as you can. So we always remember that the key here is not what you say, but how you say it. So I've explained, you can answer, you can respond with a complicated answer that the examiner has not yet heard before. Like, tell me about a color that you like. And you said vermilion, that's a shade of orange. But you don't know how to give detail and examples to it. A person who will mention orange as his or her favorite color would still remain supreme. So it's in the simplicity of your answer, but you have to aim to always give as many details as you can. Are we clear? Okay. Goodbye.